Welcome. These are public hearings for code enforcement violations. These hearings are quasi-judicial, and I am the special magistrate appointed to hear these cases. Formal rules of evidence do not apply, but fundamental due process shall be observed. Everyone who has a case today will have an opportunity to present testimony. You may present evidence or witnesses to testify on your behalf, but there is no public comment portion to these proceedings. You must be a respondent or be called as a witness in order to speak on a specific case. Everything today is being recorded, and all testimony will be under oath. When you are sworn in, please provide us with your current mailing address so any orders get to the correct address. The city will present its case first, and information will be displayed on the screens. Documents may be provided by the city as evidence. The city's PowerPoint presentation will be entered into evidence unless any objections are made. After the evidence, I will make a ruling. That ruling will be reduced to writing and mailed to you. And at this point, let's please swear in anyone who's going to testify, the officers or any individuals who would like to testify on their case. Please raise your right hand to testify. It's easier for me to see if you do stand, but if you have a hard time, that's okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. And let's begin.
Good afternoon, ma'am, and thank you. I'm happy to say that our first case, 2214, is in compliance.
Great.
Which takes us to our next case, 19 North DeLeon Avenue. Ms. Underwood was present at the last meeting, and the owner is now present, was able to attend today. And some of the issues have been brought into compliance, and with that, I'll have Officer Flanagan continue his testimony.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I have the notice of hearing for today for you to present.
Thank you. So I will admit into evidence as the city's Exhibit 1, the notice of hearing for today's hearing and the affidavit of service, admitted as Exhibit 1.
All right, and this is case number 2219. This is a Massey hearing. Cassidy Underwood is the owner, 19 North DeLeon Avenue. The original violations are listed there. Some of them are in compliance, have been brought into compliance. The structure unfit for human occupancy, the electrical equipment, the interior surfaces, machinery parts and scrap metal, and the roof and drainage have not been repaired as of yet.
Okay.
The rest of them have been somewhat in the compliance. This case was originally heard on April 11, 2022. The respondent was ordered to correct the violations, including utilizing licensed professional contractors for the plumbing, electrical, and roof repairs, and obtain all necessary permits by June 10th, 2022. If compliance is not achieved, a fine of $100 per day per violation commencing on June 11th, 2022, and continuing until the violations are corrected. And a respondent be assessed administrative cost of $262.88. Since the hearing, I did get the owner who was here today. She signed a trespass warning, and we were also with the building official to make it uninhabitable, so nobody's currently living on the property. And since that date, that it was taken care of. And like I said, no other corrective actions other than what you saw, the vehicles and all that were corrected, but everything else is not. And that's just a quick, I don't know if you want to see the pictures
Yes,
again,
please.
or if you remember. This was the fire hazard that was originally brought to the case. This was when the fire department found that the heat source on the electrical panel was too much, and that's what started all this.
And that's still in
That, to my knowledge, has not been corrected yet. Yeah.
Okay.
The power is off to the property, if they did pull the meter on it, but that has not been corrected for anybody to live on the property. These are the conditions of the interior surfaces with the floor.
Now, what are the date of these pictures?
These are back in April. I have not been back on the property to inspect them. The same thing with the interior surfaces. This was the prohibited occupancy. Since there's nobody there now, that's been corrected. That's the backyard, the debris and everything in the backyard, and that was the one where we had the fecal matter and everything. The roof and drainage where the soffits are missing. And the conclusion of the fact, the electrical hazard still remains. The power lines that were overloaded causing a heat hazard, but that's been taken care of since they removed the meter. The interior surfaces are not being kept or maintained clean, and I cannot confirm because it's been vacant and I've had access to the property. And I cannot see the backyard to see if the debris has been taken care of. And the roof and drainage, from what I see, is still not in compliance. This situation, I do have the owner here. I have been in contact with them a couple times since the hearing date. They have expressed interest in selling the property. She has a current, you have a contract now, but the contract is until June 20th? Yeah, the contract is until June 21st to sell the property.
It doesn't matter.
I know. I just, yeah,
But
so I explained to them.
it's good information to
Yeah.
know.
Now, if you want to talk to
Is
them.
that all from
or-
the city?
That's all I have at this time.
Ma'am,
Yes.
Officer Flanagan, is the structure still secured? That's why you weren't allowed inside?
From what I can tell, well, I don't have permission from the owner to get on there, but the structure still, there's open windows and different things in the back. From talking to the neighbors, that still allow people to go in. And speaking to the neighbors, people still are wandering in and out of the house.
Oh, I thought you said it was vacant.
It is vacant. There's no one currently living there,
No one's-
but the past activities that were going on there, the people have been showing up
Okay.
looking for stuff.
And we do have an active trespass warrant?
We do have an active trespass warrant on the property, yes. Law enforcement's still been called out there when people are there, but by the time they get there, the people are gone because they see that nobody's at the house to get what they need, and they take off before the officers get there.
Okay. All right. I'd like to hear
But
from the
nobody's
owner.
been living there or anything, so.
Okay. If you'd like to come forward. And let me have your name and mailing address.
Hi, this is Caney Underwood, and my mailing address is 4834 Black Mountain Path, and that is in Raleigh, North Carolina, 27612.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here. What do you know about the progress being made on these violations?
So, I was trying to watch the PowerPoint, but I don't know if I've gotten all of them. When I looked over these today, I believe I had counted 6 that were resolved. My sister and another family member did go there to clean up the backyard, and she had told me all the garbage and any type of scraps were removed from the yard. So,
So that was the junk and debris 12-23.
yes, ma'am.
So your testimony is that that has been all cleaned up
Yes.
in the back? Okay. And we have structure unfit for human occupancy.
Yes, that still stands, not resolved yet.
Okay. What, do you have like
Okay.
a game plan?
Yes,
or-
ma'am. Yes, Your Honor. So I have 2 buyers that they're working as business partners. I have a signed contract from them. On my contract, I did request a closing on or before Friday, June 10th. Title company has the contract, and they started working on the title policy, so I have evidence of that, as well as the signed contract. One of the buyers of the two did request that they want to close on June 21st instead. Something came up with the title that they need a little more time on, and so they wanted an addendum to the contract to close on June 21st.
Is there
And
any language in your contract regarding the code violations?
Yes, I believe.
Are they taking responsibility for?
Yeah, I mean,
They are.
we've had verbal agreements that they are aware the code violations, and one of the men is like a contractor that does repairs on houses, so he's gonna do all the work himself. So
Well,
they're fully aware
The,
of the repairs that
the
need to be
issue is, if there are still violations,
Yes.
which there appears to be still violations, then a lien will be imposed, and the fine will have started running from June 11th until all of the violations are cleared up. That's how it works under the statute.
Okay.
So I'm not giving you any kind of advice at
Yeah,
all, but this is just part of the process, is if I don't have testimony today that all of the violations are in compliance, then the fine starts to run retroactively from the date that it was supposed to have come into compliance. And even though you have somebody to purchase the property, that might put a snag in it, because if the city chooses to record the lien, I'll enter an order, and then it's up to the city to actually record the lien. That lien will be effective likely before you close. So
Yes.
unless I get other kind of testimony that you've got the electrical equipment cleared up, the roofs and drainage, which the officer testified that's still not corrected. The junk and debris, I'll go ahead and find that that's in compliance, because he couldn't see, and you've got testimony that you have cleaned it up. The interior, what's the condition of the interior? Does that still need work?
Yes.
The interior.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. That's all I have the ability to do at this point, is either find you in compliance or find you in non-compliance. Unless the city suggests something to me differently, then all the evidence I have says that there are still some violations that still exist, that it didn't come into compliance by June 10th, and a fine for the few that are still here will start to run on a daily basis, June 11th, 12th, up until, whatever date this is, whatever today is. And then it would be it would behoove you to get them immediately cured,
Yes.
unless that's something that you have some kind of agreement with your new buyer.
Yes. Yeah, the new buyers are aware of the condition of the property and the code violations, and they will be fixing them expeditiously. But my goal was to sell the house as is, and they will take on the ownership of fixing the property, because they have the resources to do so. With me living out of state, it's hard for me to manage
Sure.
having contractors come in.
Absolutely.
So,
Understood. Well,
is there any possibility to have an extension to the end of the month so I can close on the property and they'll be addressed by
I'll
the
have
new
to
owners?
address that with the city, because my hands are generally tied in terms of what my responsibilities are under Florida statutes, under Chapter 162. When it comes back for a compliance hearing, my role is to determine, is it in compliance or not in compliance? And based on the testimony, it's not fully in compliance, it's partially in compliance.
Yes.
City, do you have anything to add on this issue?
No, ma'am, well, typically, you've been very gracious with allowing additional time. Being the fact that it is under contract and it is going to sell, and I believe I've already been in contact with the buyer she's referring to, and they are aware of what they have to do. I would stress, and I don't know how much I could stress the fact that that needs to be with the title company, that this is there. And,
Yes, I have paperwork showing.
and if we could give them until the next hearing to make that transition, as long as they report the new owner and the closing date to Officer Flanagan, so that we could immediately make contact with the new owner and provide them with direction.
Normally, I do not like to make extensions on compliance issues. I can go ahead and what I'll do is table this for 1 month, and that hopefully will give you the opportunity to close on the property, and then it'll come back for the next meeting in July. And if it's not fully in compliance, then the fine will start to run retroactively from June 11th. So there's a huge incentive to get these final violations finished as soon as possible before the next meeting.
Yes, Your Honor.
And
I do appreciate.
I'm not your honor,
Oh,
but thank you for the respect.
Sorry.
The city was gracious enough to agree to do that, and I'm fine agreeing to do that, because it does sound like you're making some progress and that you are really trying hard to get this done. But let the buyer know that I mean, it's going to affect if they become the
Yes.
owner, it's going to affect their property if there's a lien on it. So they
Yes.
will want to expeditiously correct these violations. So at this point, my ruling is that I will table the case until the next hearing. And please hurry.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Thank you. I appreciate the
Thank you.
extension, Brad.
All right, next case.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Case number 2223 has also been brought into compliance.
Great.
If we could, before we do that one, we could go ahead and hear 2227, Edward Robel. Mr. Honeycutt has, if we could get him moved up front, and I think it'd be also appropriate that he get heard. And then we can go from there. Sorry, ma'am.
All right,
It's okay.
2227.
So good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I've got 3 items to submit as exhibits for you. The first one is going to be the affidavit for notice of violation. Second one is going to be the affidavit notice of hearing. And the third is the cost recovery statement in the total of $139.61.
Okay. Okay. I will take into evidence as Exhibit 1 the city's notice of violation along with the affidavit of service of the notice of violation. Exhibit 2 will be the notice of hearing for today's hearing and the affidavit of service of the notice of hearing. And Exhibit 3 will be the city's cost recovery statement requesting costs in the amount of $139.61.
All right, thank you. So this is case number 22-27, the initial hearing. The respondent is Edward Rebel. The property is now under the name of Rebel Family Trust. The violation address, this is Vector Space Track E. This is tax ID number 2322889. Parcel ID is 22-35-22-75-76-2. And it is located within the city of Titusville, Florida.
When did the transfer of ownership or the change in name occur? Do you know?
It was May or April, end of April or early May.
Are they the same?
It's
People?
a different address, but all of our notices were signed for, including the hearing notice was signed for
Okay.
by the owner.
Okay. All right.
So the original mailing address was P.O. Box 780578, Orlando, Florida 32878. The new address is 4385 Chuluta Road, Orlando, Florida 32820. So the violations as it stands today is section 30-83. It's the prohibition of topography alteration. And the second violation is section 13-28 for the dead trees and debris on the property. So Site Inspector Jake Beagley with Development Services was completing an inspection on a neighboring construction site and observed fill dirt placed on the property without a permit. Contact was made with the property owner concerning the required permit. Development Services turned the case over to Code Enforcement after the owner failed to submit for a permit. So my initial inspection was completed on February 11th, 2022. I did confirm piles of fill dirt and collected tree debris and vegetation were on site. Pictures were taken for the file and a notice of violation was posted on the property. So they were given to comply by April 13th, 2022. Certified and first-class letters were mailed on February 14th, 2022. They were delivered and signed for by the owner on February 18th, 2022. So I have had contact with Mr. Rebel by phone to discuss the violations. During both conversations, Mr. Rebel indicated he was in contact with the Community Development Director, Peggy Busca, and with Development Services Site Inspector, Jake Beagley, about the permits and options for appealing their decisions. I discussed with him what he needed to do to come into compliance. That was to remove the tree debris from the property, as well as removing the fill dirt if a permit was not issued. So the notice of hearing was posted at City Hall and on the property on June 2nd, 2022. Certified and first-class letters were mailed out May 10th, 2022. They were delivered and signed for by the owner on May 16th, 2022. So a Class 1 site development permit was applied for on March 25th, 2022. The permit was denied on March 28th due to no proposed development plan submitted with the application. So my inspections since then, all the fill dirt remain on the site without any erosion control measures in place, as well as multiple piles of the dead tree debris scattered throughout the property. So this is just an overhead map of the area. The property in question is highlighted in red. The fill dirt was added in the corner of the property there on Riverfront and Horizon. That's where the fill dirt is, and the tree debris piles are scattered throughout the property. So these are photos taken from the February 11th inspection. So this one is concerning the 30-83 prohibition. So no person, firm, or other entity may cut, fill, or grade in any manner, alter the natural topography within the corporate limits of the city of Titusville unless such activity has been approved as a part of a valid development order issued pursuant to these regulations. So this is a closer up pictures of the fill dirt that are on the site. And so under section 13-28, the violations, it should be unlawful for any person, manager, owner, or agent to allow debris, rubbish, trash, tin cans, paper, stagnant water, diseased, dead, or damaged trees to accumulate on the property. Anything that may become a menace to nearby properties, public health, become a place of harborage for rodents, things of that nature. So these are pictures of debris piles around the property.
And you said this is scattered throughout the property?
Yes. So they're on the property itself. They are near the right-of-way. All of the piles are close to the right-of-way, but none of them encroach into the actual right-of-way.
And
But they are very visible.
these trees were, the issue is not that they were cut down without a permit. The issue is that
That was covered under the previous case. We had a tree removal permit. In the order, we did not include removing those debris from the final order. So they are being addressed at this time. We are in hurricane season. These debris piles are very significant.
Sure.
So these are the follow-up inspections, photos taken on June 2nd. Again, all of the fill dirt remains on the property. We have got vegetation starting to grow on it. And the debris piles still remain on the property. Oh, I think I am too. Wrong button.
Now,
I
but-
apologize.
About how high are those piles of fill dirt?
I'm 5'5", and they are well above my head. A good 8 to 10 feet are most of the piles, but some are higher than that. So these are the June 2nd photos. I apologize. So conclusions of fact on this case for section 30-83 for the topography alteration. The fill dirt remain on the site without any of the required approvals or permits. For section 13-28, the dead trees and other debris remain piled throughout the property and pose a threat to neighboring properties. So we are requested that the respondent be ordered to correct the violation on or before August 5th, 2022. In order to correct the violation, the respondent must remove the fill dirt from the property, seed or install erosion control measures to the impacted areas of that fill dirt, and remove the dead trees and other debris from the property. We also are requesting that the owner be assessed the administrative costs in the amount of $139.61. If the respondent does not comply by August 5th, 2022, we are requesting a fine in $100 per day per violation be imposed for each day that the violation continues, and ask that the respondent contact me once the violations have been corrected.
Okay. Is that it from the city?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, does anyone else wish to speak on this matter? You could give me your name and your current mailing address.
Good afternoon. It's Rodney Honeycutt of Honeycutt and Associates, and it's 3700 South Washington Avenue here in Titusville.
And what is your relationship to the owner?
Mr. Ed Rebell is a client of mine.
And he has given you permission to speak on his behalf in this matter?
Yes, and actually I have a letter to read into the record
Okay,
to
great.
start with. When you're ready, let me know.
I'm ready.
So it's the attention, Mr. Glenn Tolson, Code Enforcement Manager It references the hearing case number and enforcement case number EN 22-0174. Mr. Tolson, my apologies for not being able to be present at the forthcoming 6/13/22 magistrate hearing. Mr. Rodney Honeycutt will be at the hearing to represent me. Correcting the violation is an efficient and sensitive environmental matter has taken a significant amount of time. The following steps have been taken. Mulching the piles of dead trees will start on Monday, June 13th, today, and will be completed by the end of the month. A site plan to address the grading the site with the piles of fields rejected by development services due to the lack of a building footprint. A geotechnical investigation has been initiated for the site. A preliminary site plan with a building footprint, parking, utilities, stormwater, etc. is being prepared, and a formal pre-application for a valid development order will be submitted by the end of June 2022 to City Development Services, which will address the fill issue. Sincerely, Eduardo Rebel. And I added in the 2022 because I know he meant this year.
Okay.
And so I don't have a lot of information on the violation. I did
Do you
receive,
have an extra copy of that letter that we can put into the record?
We
Oh, you have it? All right, because I'd like to make it an exhibit.
yes,
We can make that exhibit 4.
you can take this one.
Thank you.
So I don't have a lot of information about the violation, but I do know Mr. Rebel came to me probably I'm guessing in February. And so I can answer any questions you might have about the plan that was submitted that was rejected and the status of what we're doing now. And then in addition to that, Mr. Rebel texted me and said that the removal of the piles around the site has started today, as he promised it would in his letter.
Okay.
Ma'am, I can confirm, I drove by the property, there are contractors on site today. Machinery is on site to start grinding down the debris piles.
And as far as the the piles of fill dirt, what's the plan for dealing with that?
Well, what Mr. Rebel wanted, the reason those are there is he wanted to develop more of a pad-ready site. It's lower. And so what we submitted in March was a grading and clearing plan. It was rejected by the city. It said because it didn't meet a development order standard. I don't know. I never did find out exactly what that was. We assumed there was no building proposed on the site. We did that plan because I advised Mr. Rebel to do it, because in the past, I've done at least 3 of those where you don't have a building, you just grade and clear the site. But the current administration doesn't like that. Those other ones that I did were 5 to 10 years ago. So currently, what he's doing is he's directed me to develop a plan that will have a building. And so
Well,
that's,
why was he, if he doesn't have a plan for a building, why was he doing the fill dirt?
well, it takes some time. Why was he doing? So he could develop a pad-ready site. The site is low in the area that the fill dirt's in. So it's much more desirable site if you come in and it's ready to start. And so that's what he was planning on doing. I don't know, and probably had an opportunity to get fill dirt. So the amount of time it takes to get a development order with a building is quite lengthy these days. You just about always have 2 submittals, and currently the city is taking up to 2 months, or not up to 2 months, they're taking 2 months for each review. In addition, we have to do the plan. The geotechnical work we ordered a couple of weeks ago, they haven't even given me their schedule. I asked for their schedule. I'm hoping they have that done by the end of the month. But then that's when we have to do all the design. So it's quite lengthy. I would say it's 9 to 12 months to get a development order to be able to clear the dirt.
Well, I can't give you 9 to 12 months to come into compliance. if that was what you were going to ask for.
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's up to Mr. Rebel, what he wants to do about
Okay.
that. I'm just telling you what the facts are that I know.
So, and based on your knowledge, do you think it's going to take 9 to 12 months to bring these violations into compliance?
Well, we have to have a development order to,
Or remove the fill dirt?
well, and to remove the fill dirt is, don't make sense, and then bring it back.
The city is asking for the 2 violations to come into compliance by August 5th.
I think he said, I don't have the letter, I believe he thought that the piles of debris would be removed before then.
He did make reference to the piles, that they would be in compliance, leaving only the site plan issues. And again, 60 days can get in, at least get it in through, starting to review and go forward. But we're not inclined to do anything beyond the 2 months currently.
Okay.
So what he did promise to do in the letter is authorize me, even if we don't have the geotechnical, the reason you need geotechnical is to size your stormwater facility, but we'll make a preliminary estimate, and he agreed for us to submit a plan to the city before the end of the month to start the process, to show that we are moving forward.
So we have an August 8th meeting and a September 12th meeting. Okay. All right. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Not unless you have a question.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you.
Does the city have anything in addition? Okay. Based on the evidence and testimony on both sides, I find that there is a violation of 30-83, Topography, Prohibition, and Storage of Materials and Equipment, and Section 13-28, Dead Trees and Debris. It's quite extensive, the piles of the fill and the vegetation debris is quite extensive on the property and visual, and can be seen from public view. The city is requesting removal of the tree debris and removal of the fill dirt, or obtaining the necessary permission from the city. They are requesting August 5th. You have indicated that it would take several months, at least on the first violation, 30-83. I don't agree that I should give you that 6-month time frame to come into compliance. I will incorporate the evidence and testimony into my order. I will find that a violation of the 2 cited violations do exist. I will also order a compliance date of September 9th, 2022. And should both violations not come into compliance by September 9th, 2022, a fine in the amount of $100 per day will accrue per violation. So there's 2 violations currently. Will run beginning September 10, 2022, and shall continue to accrue until the property is brought into full compliance with both violations. And I will impose the costs in the amount of $139.61. And those costs will be imposed regardless. I think that's it. Anything else from either party?
No, thank you.
Thank you. This will go out to the mail. Did you want a copy sent to you? Okay,
The-
all right, thank you.
If I could, Ms. Honeycutt, would it be okay if May keeps in contact with you as you're currently going through this, or just with Mr. Rebel?
Absolutely.
Okay, you get Mr. Honeycutt's card.
All right. Next case.
2228 is withdrawn. And we've also moved up, trying not to jump around, but we do have the respondents present for 1307 Palmetto Street. This case belongs to Officer Flanagan, and we could, Officer Flanagan, move forward with that case, 22-30.
22-30,
Yes, ma'am.
yes.
Sorry. You have 3 items to submit, is the notice of violation, the notice of hearing, and the cost affidavit.
Okay. So the city has handed me these documents to be put into evidence. I will accept into evidence as Exhibit 1 is the notice of violation, as well as the affidavit of service of the notice of violation. Actually, yeah, there's.
That's the cost recovery I just put up there.
That's Exhibit 1. Exhibit 2 is the notice of hearing for today's hearing and the affidavit of service. And Exhibit 3 will be the city's request for cost recovery for the costs they've incurred in this case in the amount of $192.44. I will admit those into evidence. Okay.
This would be case 2230. The respondent is John and Jean Barrett. I'm sorry. The address of the violation is 1307 Palmetto Street, Titusville, Florida. The mail to address is 3672 Murrayfield Drive in Titusville. The violations are section 605.2 electrical equipment receptacles, 304.13.2 openable windows. Just know there is a permit that was applied for the windows on April 20th that has not been picked up or paid for yet. 304.14 insect screens, 302.3 the sidewalks and driveways, 502.1 required facilities for the dwelling unit, and 304.13 the windows, skylights, and door frames. Initial inspection was done on February 21st, 2022. A notice of violation was posted on the property. The date given to comply was on or before March 8th. Notice to respondents were mailed on February 21st, certified and first class mail, and it was signed for on the 25th of February. Notice of hearing on May 19th was posted at City Hall and on the property where the violations exist, and it was mailed out on May 10th, 2022. There has been contact with the owner. We've had discussions, but no corrective action that I'm aware of has been made on the property. This violation was brought to my attention by the tenant. He requested a check of the property for the violations. Several violations were noted. The tenant advised that he had an agreement to fix up the property for the owner. However, the owner has not purchased anything to make the repairs. Results of the inspection, the owner is called and given a variety of reasons why repairs have not been made. And again, no repairs have been made that I am aware of. This is the electrical equipment. When I did the initial inspection in February, Exposed wires, as you can see on the right-hand side, and receptacles throughout the property were exposed, and there is power to the house. Openable windows throughout the property. There's windows that have been boarded up that aren't working correctly like they're intended to do.
What's the difference between electrical equipment wiring and electrical equipment receptacles?
The receptacles are just what you see there on the left-hand side. The receptacle covers are missing
Okay,
causing the hazard and stuff.
okay.
It says, I believe on the last sentence, all receptacle outlets shall have the appropriate faceplate cover for this location.
Got it.
Yeah. And we'll go back, I'm sorry, the openable window, every window other than fixed windows shall be easily openable. This is an openable window, but it's been nailed shut with boards, so it's not working correctly like it's supposed to. This is another window on the side of the property. As you see, it's boarded up from the inside, so it doesn't have access. This is an openable window. I believe this was a cracked window, but there's also no insect screens as required on any of the windows on the property. This is the sidewalk and driveway. This is up near the house where they walk and stuff. Obvious trip hazard from the dirt that's eroded away and stuff. It's probably about a 2-inch drop, causing the hazardous condition. The required facilities in the dwelling unit, each dwelling unit, water closet, etc., has to have a kitchen sink and shall be maintained in a sanitary, safe working condition. This is the kitchen area. There is no kitchen. There's no kitchen sink, no plumbing, no cabinets, no anything in the kitchen at this time.
And there is someone living there, the tenant?
Yes,
is
yeah,
living
the tenant is living there. This is the window skylights and door frames. The doors and frames shall be kept in the sound condition, good repair, and you can see this is the front interior door where it's cracked and has holes in it, allowing air and everything to come in.
Can you go back to your
Properly
last
framed.
one?
Yes,
Last
ma'am.
slide?
Mhm.
What violation is that?
It says water closet and kitchen sink that shall be maintained in a sanitary and safe working condition.
That's
That's the kitchen.
502.1? I don't have that on the list.
502.1?
It says 502.1. Required facilities, dwelling units.
Let me see here. Go back.
That's not on the list.
Nope, it's on the PowerPoint.
Just make sure it's on the notice of violation. I don't see it on the notice of violation, 502.1,
Okay.
unless I'm mistaken.
No, ma'am,
if
I did not
you-
have it either.
All right, let's
You got what was
scratch that
said.
one.
Yes, ma'am, we will. No problem. Okay, my error on that one.
That's okay.
Do you have 304.13? We already discussed that one, right? The window skylights and door frames. And again, the conclusion of the facts, the electrical equipment receptacles, the receptacles are missing. Receptacle covers are missing and wires exposed from the ceiling, fans, etc. throughout the house. We have exposed wires and the receptacle covers are missing. 304.13, the openable windows. Windows are not properly working like they're supposed to. Some are boarded up, some won't open at all, some won't stay up, etc. Insect screens, there are no insect screens anywhere on the property. Sidewalk and driveway, the walkway has trip hazards near the house where the dirt eroded away. We'll skip number 5 and number 6, the window skylights and door frames. The door frames are not properly installed, not in sound condition and not weather tight. When you shut the front door, you can still see outside through the frame and stuff.
Now I have on the agenda, there's exterior sanitation, infestation, and interior doors as violations. 302.1, 309.1, and 305.6.
I think the infestation I couldn't confirm,
Okay,
so that's why I left that off the
So we're
PowerPoint
gonna
display.
scratch that.
Yeah.
and then exterior sanitation, 302.1. Did you talk about that one?
No, it did not. I believe that was a, like, overgrowth issue, but that was resolved as well.
And then 305.6, interior doors.
Ma'am, that was Scribner's error on my side.
Okay, so those last three that are on the agenda, we're just scratching.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, I failed to take those off.
Let's make sure we're clear.
No, that's fine. No problem. No problem there.
Okay,
Very good. No problem. Requesting to respond to correct the violation by July 8th, 2022. In order to correct the violations, the respondent must replace receptacle covers, repair the exposed wires, repair or replace all the windows for proper working order, install insect screens where needed, repair the trip hazards around the walk area. The sink I'll leave off because we didn't do the proper service on that one. And replace the door frame and obtain all permits as required. Keep going, or you?
Did we cover 605.4 electrical equipment wiring? I heard the receptacles, but
Yes.
yeah,
we,
Somewhere didn't have 605
But
before,
for-
someone.
right, in the summary, I didn't see it, and that's why I wanted to make sure she picked.
6052.
Four is not,
Yeah, 605.4 electrical
in
equipment
someone.
in your summary.
No, I had 6052 for some reason.
I'm
Electrical
thinking
equipment
your
receptacles.
conclusions of facts.
Nope, you're correct. It's not on
Yeah,
there.
not there.
well, it's, let me make sure it's on the notice. The notice has 605.4, 304.13, windows and skylights, 302.1, 302.3, 304.14, insect screens, 305.6, interior doors, but we're not doing that one anymore, right?
No. Okay.
And 309.1, infestation, we're not doing that one.
Right.
502.1. Oh, 502.1
Is on there. Okay.
is on here.
Is on there. Okay. That would be the sink in the kitchen, which there's no kitchen or any appliances in there, so, or any cabinets or anything that would even hold the sink.
So that is, it's in your notice, but it just didn't make it to the
To-
agenda.
Okay.
So you showed me the pictures of it. Like, go ahead and show me back
That would
again.
be this kitchen area with no kitchen sink
So
or
no kitchen,
anything.
no sink. Okay. Six oh 5.2, that's electrical equipment.
Mhm.
304.13.2. What was the one we were looking for? 605.2?
6054?
Yes.
6054.
You had 605.2, but you
Right.
didn't have 605.4.
Right.
605.4, yep. Equipment, wiring. Okay,
Okay.
so, just to clarify, the violations we have today, based on your testimony, are IPMC 605.2, the receptacles,
Right.
yes? 605.4, the wiring,
Right.
and that was in the picture showing the loose
Right,
wiring
right.
hanging down.
Mhm.
Operational windows, 304.13.2.
Right.
304.14, no insect screens.
Right.
302.3, the walkways.
Correct.
304.13, window skylights, door frames.
Right.
You had pictures of the door
Right.
frame. And then 502.1, the kitchen.
Correct.
Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
And I,
7 current violations based on your testimony.
okay, I do apologize for the
That's fine.
confusion there.
It's just we just want to make it
Yeah,
clear.
no, absolutely. Obtain the permits as required, the respondent be assessed the administrative cost of $192.44. If the respondent does not comply by July 8th, is requested a $50 a day fine be imposed for each day for each violation, and the respondent needs to contact me to confirm the violations have been corrected. And the respondent is here today.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak on this?
Good afternoon. My name is John Barrett. Location of the case is 1307 Palmetto. And if you would like, I can give you the case number, which is,
I have it, thank
you
you.
got it? Thank you.
Can I have your mailing address?
Beg pardon?
Your mailing address?
3672 Muirfield Drive, Titusville, Florida, 32780. And ma'am, may I ask, good afternoon, could you increase the volume a bit? I'm on medication and I'm having difficulty of hearing any of this.
Oh, okay. Can our technical people increase the volume back
Okay.
there? I don't know that I can increase my volume.
Okay, well, I can try my best here.
Well, no, I don't want you to try your best. I want to make sure that you can hear everything. Can we get an increase in the volume?
May I say, if I go into too much detail, please correct me, okay?
Okay. Up until now, have you, there we go.
That's good.
Up until now, do you need me to clarify anything
Now,
that?
the only thing I would like, I do have a legal firm on retainer, and anything that was posted on the screen today, I would like a copy if possible.
Okay,
Secondly, I have 3 notarized statements here that I only have the originals. And if I may, I'm sure you want a copy for your records, if you could make a copy for me. Or I can get them to you later, whatever works best for you.
okay, what kind of affidavits?
It's affidavits from people that were involved in this, that were there to make corrections, and were ordered off of the place by the party that filed the charges, one, and secondly, the abuse that he displayed to some of them.
Okay, I'll listen to that in a minute, but right now,
I thought maybe you could just take them with you, or a copy of them if you want to.
well, let me first find out from you what testimony do you want to tell me about the conditions on the property and these particular violations?
Yes, I may. Number one, that property was occupied by a couple for about 3 years. And in the latter part of the year 2021, he lost his job. They got involved in drugs. They totally trashed the place, including breaking the windows and all of the violations that we are discussing here, with the exception, we never discussed the sidewalks and so forth. And during Christmas that year, his family came down from New York, cleaned the place out. Basically, we just brought in a unit and scrapped everything, okay, with a few exceptions. And then shortly after the 1st of January 2022, a gentleman that I was hoping would be here today, his name is John Stryver, approached me and advised me that he had encountered some individual here in Titusville, I think from New York City, that was looking for a place to stay, and he was a so-called handyman. This individual at that time, that was on a Sunday, was residing in a hotel in Cocoa Beach, paying $600 a week, and he had to be out in less than 48 hours, okay? So there was never anything in writing, nothing in writing, other than on the 19th of the month, I did provide a paper which allowed me to cease paying the utilities, and they were put over in his name. That's the only document there is.
Okay.
He has been there about 6 months. He has not paid 1 penny of interest. He has not taken care of the yard. And the understanding was, when he moved in there, that he was going to make these corrections, okay? And by and large, these are the violations we're talking about here. But the main thing is, he has resided there approaching a half a year without spending 1 penny, other than he has paid his only utility subsequent to the 19th of January. And as I say, these documents I have here notarized is people that have been there, tried to make corrections, and they were ordered off of the place, and sometimes with a very nasty attitude. So, and to summarize this, and I don't want to dwell on this, but I am a senior, number one. 2, I'm a DAV. 3, I'm recovering from the loss of my wife here in the past few months. Thirdly, I live alone. Number 2, I'm confronted with lymph nodes. I don't know if you know what those are. Very serious, okay? And they've been doing biopsies on me, blood work and so forth. And I say this under oath. They told me today, and we were expecting this earlier anyway, that they got the results back, and I have some very critical issues in my area of, let me see what they were. They were in the area of liver and kidney problems, which probably emanated from my prostate. That's what they think, because they've been looking at that for some time without any success. But moreover, I thought I also was offered some protection from a state regulation, Chapter 825-103, which protects seniors and people that have some health issues. And I definitely feel that I come under that. But the most important point is, the guy's never paid a penny, okay? Nor did he do anything substantially to improve the items that he was going to perform when he moved in.
So
One.
what was he supposed to do? What was your agreement for him?
Well, we could probably, there's nothing in writing, okay? As I
that's
understand, when he came in there, and I've only been there a couple of times, one of them was to read the doors for most part were all torn off, okay? So we bought doors and so forth and put it in there. This item that we see here with the hanging chandelier in the bedroom, okay? Items of that nature. And some paintings, okay? So I should say painting, not paintings. And on the exterior, the prior party had cut a hole in the wall to insert a air conditioner, and he was to correct that. We purchased the material. The last I saw some time ago, that part, or that component was laying up against the house with the bottom of it on the soil, okay? Probably ruining it. I don't know if anything has been done subsequent to that. I don't know that. But the point being, the material is, we have the material to fix it. We have sent people in, okay? And he ordered them off of the place. And you will find that there in the notarized information.
All right, if you want to hand me that, I'll be happy to look at.
Okay,
Look
thank
at
you.
it.
Just 1 second, please. I think I have it right here. In fact, I am recovering right now from COVID-19, and I'm not even supposed to be out here, okay? Number one. Number two, I subsequently are involved in these lymph nodes and so forth. That came into pass. What did I do with this, sir? Here we go.
Thank you. If you give me just 1 minute, I'll take a look at these and
Yes,
then,
ma'am, thank you.
okay. And would you like these admitted into evidence? Do you
Oh,
want
yes,
this? Okay.
absolutely.
So I will go ahead and I'll give this to the city so the city can look at them and then get some copies made for the record. I'll admit into evidence as composite exhibit 4, the affidavit of Amber Branham, the affidavit of Tremaine Mack, and the affidavit of Leonardo Rodriguez
Correct.
as composite exhibit 4. I'll get to you in a minute, sir. I understand.
If I may, just one amendment to what I told you earlier. Shortly after he came there and we viewed him, Mr. Stryver and I, trying to work on the front door, it was obvious to us he did not have any, he was not a handyman talent, okay? 1. 2, which I didn't know when he moved in there, he came with 2 rather large dogs, medium to large dogs, okay? And in the course of the conversation, he told me that he and his 2 brothers from New York City were members of the mafia. And the 2 brothers had been killed, and apparently he got out of the business and came to Florida. And that's when I told him, I can't do business with you, okay?
Okay.
So there was never any plans of him remaining there for any particular length of time.
So just so I make it clear, I can't resolve any of those issues today.
Right.
I can only deal with your plan moving forward because, do you disagree with, that the violations exist?
Well, I had a little trouble to be hearing. That's why I was wondering if I might have a copy of it that I could run by my attorneys.
Can we please run through the pictures again?
Well, to be candid with you, I had trouble seeing them to be with you,
Okay,
to be candid with you.
If,
Anyway, I just thought maybe there's something you could print that I could take with me.
yes. I don't know that they'll be able to print it
Thank
right
you.
now.
no, if he would be able to provide his attorney's information, we'll be happy to forward it to him in an email.
What was that again, sir?
If you could give us your attorney's name and address, we'll be happy to call him and send it to him in an email.
Okay, very good, very good. And would you be the contact? Or this would be, what's his name?
Officer Flanagan.
Oh, okay, very good. I didn't recognize you today.
So we've got the exposed wires from the ceiling. Did you see that picture?
I did.
And then
That's
the-
something he was gonna correct, by the way.
I
'Cause
got it.
When he came there, there was a fan there. They were not hanging like that when he came into the house.
Got it. I understand. And then the missing covers on the electrical outlets. Did you see those pictures? Were there no?
I did
no-
see those. Now, my question was, Were they like that when he came in, or was he in the process of replacing them?
But I don't
know either.
I don't know, and at this point, I don't care, because we're talking about what's in existence as of the time the officer came and saw this information. If you have testimony to tell me that that's fixed, then fine, but if it's not fixed, then.
It's not fixed, I would say that. Since he had no authority to be there, we were willing to make the corrections. He would not permit people to come in the house and make same.
Right. I saw your affidavits, and every affidavit that you submitted said that basically the same thing, that they were hired by you to come there to make repairs, and the person residing
Correct.
there chased them off. So
And
that's,
all of the components needed to make those corrections, we have in a warehouse, okay? But I decided not to proceed. Number one, he wouldn't let us in. Number two, he wasn't paying anything. And number three, I got to get him the hell out of there, okay?
well, I can't resolve that issue.
I realize
because
that.
that may be an issue you would have to take up
Right.
with the courts.
And that's the reason I have the attorneys.
Right. So the other, the problem with the windows, there's no insect screen, they're boarded up.
But there's new windows to be installed.
So all of these things, you're ready to make the repairs, and there's no
Now, the other
kitchen, there's
thing
no
that's very
sink.
interesting, I submitted two building requests. At the same time, the one of them came back in a week. We have never seen anything on this particular location. I don't know who's holding it or why they would be holding it. But I did submit those the very same day.
Okay.
Basically, they covered windows. The windows we have the windows, okay?
It sounded
In
like
fact,
from
I
the
can-
officer that those permits just need to be picked up.
It says fees required, it all says, so that just need to be paid for.
Beg pardon, but you don't understand, could I please understand?
From the building department?
Yeah.
It states on their site that the permit was applied for, and the holdup right now, it says the fees are still needing to be paid for.
Well,
So
that's
I assume
interesting,
after
because
the
we
fees
picked
are-
up the one, and we paid it that day, and it was my understanding that if and when it was available, they were gonna send me an email, and I don't work in emails, so the one that we did pick up, they did call us and advise us that it was available, and we were down there immediately to take care of it. In fact, this lady sitting over here is the one that picked it up for me.
Okay, apparently it's ready now, so
Okay.
on your way out, you can stop there and talk to them.
Okay, very good.
Okay, so that's on the windows, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so you've got several other issues to deal with, that walkway.
You know, I don't
the
understand, that's
kitchen.
one I didn't understand what the issue was there. What is the violation, if you would?
On the walkway?
Yeah.
Well, it looks like it had eroded, and there's a couple inch height difference, and that's a trip hazard. So anyone walking on that walkway
Okay, I
could
can't place
trip.
that. I'm sure you're right.
Well, I'm just looking at the
That's
pictures,
good. I believe you.
and I have to defend cities in a lot of trip and
Right.
falls, so I can tell you that looks like a trip hazard to me. So that's, and that's not my opinion, that's just based on the testimony of the officer. And then the sink, you gotta do something about the kitchen. There's nothing in the kitchen.
Well, that's right. What happens, I mentioned, that group that was there before traced the place, and we removed the cabinets. We have cabinets to put in there, but I'm not gonna put them in there while this fellow is here, not paying any rent, number one, and number two, he's not allowing people access to even do anything.
Okay, I understand that, and, again, that's not an issue I can resolve. The violations exist and they need to be taken care of within a certain reasonable
Right.
period of time. So my next question to you is, what period of time do you think you need to get all of these issues taken care
Okay,
of?
here's what I would say. In fact, I was about to ask you a question. How do we gain access to the place with him there when he orders people off?
Nobody was ever ordered out.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I'll go sit outside. These guys are paying for it. Call me when you need.
okay,
I have all the emails. everything.
We don't care about your emails.
okay. I understand. It
Ma'am.
sounds very frustrating.
It does sound very frustrating, and With that being said, he has, as he's testified, he has a legal team. I'm sure they can walk him through whatever he needs to do on that side of it.
Right,
What was that again, sir?
I'll repeat it for you. He's, Manager Tolleson is saying you have a legal team apparently to deal with.
I'm just
with-
getting into it now, okay, checking all aspects and all parties.
So I can't, and the city can't give you advice on how to deal with that, but if you have somebody living there, you have to go through the process to get that person out.
Okay, so predicated upon that comment, what we got to do before we can really start anything effectively perhaps, we have got to take the course of action to get him out.
I cannot delay the time needed to correct these. Some of these look, fairly serious violations, especially if there's somebody living there and there's no operational sink and there's exposed wires. Those,
That are living there without any authority.
well, I can't
See,
make,
that's-
I
I
can't make
realize
that
that.
determination. I'm sorry, and I sympathize with the situation, but I can't make that determination. I can only say whether this is a violation, and these do appear to be violations of the code, and how much time you need to get the repair.
I would glean, and I don't know what's involved really to correct that situation with the cement. The other items, I think, could be done in a relatively short period of
I
time.
agree. They don't look to
Exactly,
be
right.
very difficult.
And these were the things he was going to correct.
So the city has asked for you to bring these into compliance by July 8th.
Oh, July. Could you give me another week?
I can give you another
I don't
month.
know how long. I think, but the best I can tell, talking to the attorneys, this could take 15 days to get him out of there after they submit the desired forms and request. I might also mention that we did give him an eviction notice, a 3-day notice some time ago. Okay?
Oh, you did?
Yes. Yes, we did.
Okay. All right, I'm not in that. It's not really relevant. It is to some extent, and that's why I'm going to give you some extra time.
Okay.
Because I see it's apparent you have a dispute with the person residing
Right,
there.
very good.
It's
I
very
appreciate that.
apparent you have that dispute.
I appreciate that.
And that it may be affecting your ability to make these corrections. I don't know if you can have a conversation with him to ensure that people are allowed to come in to make the necessary repairs. But again, that is a dispute that's outside my role
Right.
here. I just need you to get the items fixed within a reasonable period of
Yes,
time.
and we can do that. But I really have not had any efforts to even communicate with him after I heard that he was a mafia member, okay? I just don't do business with those people.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you. I appreciate your testimony. I
Why,
am going to
thank
listen
you.
to the gentleman to see if he has anything relevant to say. If not, then I don't know that I need to continue, but I would agree to give you a little more time, and I'll give you
No.
that ruling in just a
I can
minute.
assure you that we shall approach it and complete it rapidly as possible.
Okay,
And I thank you for your patience.
thank you for coming. Was there anyone else who wanted to? All right, please come up.
Sure.
Have a seat, John.
And if you could just give me your name and your current address.
Anthony Biscuglia, 1307 Palmetto Street, Titusville, Florida. 37, I forget the zip.
Okay, and you've already been sworn in, I believe. Did
Yes,
you-
sir. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay. I don't really want to hear a dispute or a he said.
Right.
All I want to know is you are residing at these premises, is that
Right. I
correct?
signed
I don't care.
I signed a legal lease with the plaintiff, okay? He has not done any work in 6 months. The kitchen, I gave him a list that he signed, okay, with what I was including and what he was supposed to do, and he did not buy any material whatsoever. He speaks about this John Schreiber, he's using as a reference.
Irrelevant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
I-
Were the
No
violations
violations have been
corrected or not?
taken. Nobody ever came, this gentleman came to my house once, put in one window,
Okay,
okay? I was happy, and I called code enforcement and said, hey, they showed up, they put in a window. He came by, shook the window wasn't installed right, and they didn't get work permits.
okay.
So we're now talking, since January, 6 months now, he has not made any repairs, hasn't bought any material, hasn't done anything. I told him I would install the kitchen cabinets if he bought them. He did not buy them. The interior of the house has been painted.
Hang on, the violations that I presented, are they still in violation today?
Yes, all of them. He hasn't done one thing.
Okay.
That's all she
In
needs.
6 months.
So I don't want to know about any dispute
I'm sorry.
about whether
You're
you are authorized to live
Correct.
there or not, because I don't want to, it
I
doesn't
understand.
matter to
Right.
this case. But if you are residing there, legally or not, under whatever basis you're residing there, will you allow him to
I already allowed him
tradespeople
in. I've already let them in. He came once, and she came into the backyard once.
Okay,
And then he told me from his mouth that he could not work, that it would take him 10 months, that I should move out and go away because he could not get to the.
Stop, you're going off. Will you allow
he-
people on the property?
Absolutely.
Okay.
He's allowed in anytime he wants. Just have
Okay.
to call me and let me know. Say, hey, I'm coming by, whatever.
Okay.
I have no problem. I want it all fixed.
And he has your phone number?
Yes, he has my phone number and everything.
okay, so I'm going to give him a little more time to get these violations fixed. Whatever tenancy issues you guys have is not
Part of
my,
his court, right. Now, the
not
only
my
thing I
issue.
do ask, that when he makes his schedule, because his guy thinks that he's just gonna drop by whenever he wants, okay? And he's gonna, oh, this is what we're gonna do. No, you call me, you make his schedule, because what happens if I have to go out? What happens if I have to do something?
okay,
You never called me,
Hang on,
you
hang
showed up once,
Stop.
okay? And he told me 10 months he couldn't get back there. I'm sorry.
okay. So, a courtesy call would be
Yeah,
appreciated.
Schedule it, and, send
Courtesy call
me a
saying,
text.
I'll be here in the morning at 10 a.m. Here's my number if you need to reschedule. I think that's reasonable, until you get your issues sorted out on the tenancy situation. He's willing to allow people on. I think it's reasonable for a courtesy call and a courtesy notice, ahead of time for when the people come.
I have, to this date, because I've not gotten a schedule from them work-wise, I have to work too. So.
Sure.
They can't just show up and say, oh, we're gonna do this right now. You know what I mean? I have jobs I gotta do, I have stuff I have to do.
Give you a courtesy.
So they have to schedule it, no problem,
Okay,
okay?
all right,
I want it done, I want it all fixed.
right. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate
You're
you
welcome.
coming
Sorry about
today.
that.
May I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, we're all under oath here today.
Yes.
I want him to produce that lease he's talking about.
I don't,
It's irrelevant.
it's not relevant to our,
No.
it's not, that would be an issue for whatever tenancy case you guys have.
Different case other than this one.
I realize that.
Then you don't need his lease right now.
Well, we
You're
just
done.
lied to her, okay?
All right, unless there's anything else from the city, I'll go ahead and make a ruling. I'm going to incorporate the facts and evidence from the testimony of everyone today into my order. I will find that there currently exists the following violations. IPMC Section 605.2, that's for the receptacles. IPMC 605.4 for the electrical wiring. 304.13.2, operational windows. That's for the windows that are not operational. 304.14, the insect screens. You need to get the insect screens on all the windows. 302.3, the sidewalks and walkways. You need to fix that trip hazard there that was shown in the picture. 304.13, window skylights, door frames. That was the door frame that's apparently not situated right, and it's, look, you can see an opening.
I think that's the one that he tried to fix.
The only thing he did in the house was that door.
Okay. well, then we need the officer to confirm that it's all fixed. And then finally is 502.1, the kitchen and the sink, that does need to get taken care of as well. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 current violations. They are currently in violation. I will give you, I'm going to order a compliance date of August 5th.
That's great, thank you.
August 5th to comply. Failure to comply by August 5th means a fine will start running August 6th
Very good.
at $50 per day per violation. So that's 7 violations.
Extrapolate 350, right?
So that's, that's a fairly significant amount. So that gives you plenty of incentive to get somebody in there to get it all fixed by August 5th. If it's not done, then there will be another hearing in August. August 8th will be the next hearing. If you can't get it all done by then it comes back to me. Please get it all done by August 5th.
Can I ask
We're
you
gonna
a
try to get
question?
everything done. The only problem is he gets really aggressive with everybody. He got really aggressive with her. Just
Understood.
because you are-
Again, sir, if you got those issues, call the Titusville Police Department. They'll be more than happy to have an officer come stand by.
So,
But you understand, if he don't allow me to get in there, how do I gonna?
Well, you'd have an officer there with their body cam that would have that on
Okay,
for us.
all right, thank you very much.
Can I
okay.
ask one last question?
Well, one more thing, let me finish my ruling. And then each and every time you get something fixed, please let the officer know so he can come and confirm it.
Okay,
And,
you're
and,
right on.
and if you need to get his phone number, he'll give you his phone number, but I need you to let him know when things are fixed so that we don't have to come back here in August.
In fact, I was gonna ask you if I could meet with him, the officer, in the very near future on the site to look at it in total. I haven't even been there in probably, I don't know, 4 months, I suppose.
You're free to work that out with the
That's
officer.
fine. I have his number, he has my number. I have no issue meeting him out there at any point.
What's that,
Okay.
sir? I didn't understand you.
I said I'll meet you out there at any point, you know that.
I'm sorry.
I will meet you there at any point you want me
Okay,
to.
super, thank you.
At this point, I'm going to defer ruling on the costs. The city has asked for costs in the amount of $192.44. That's just their costs, their mailing costs, just costs. And that's usually something that I normally grant, but I understand you've had a lot of difficulties, your medical issues, the issues with the tenancy, et cetera. I'm going to not order the costs at this point, but if we do have to come back for the August 8th hearing, then I most likely will impose the cost. So please get everything taken care of by August 5th.
I agree.
Anything else from any party? All right, thank you.
Thank you, I shall be in touch.
All right, sir.
All right, we have
Are you ready? We have 2 more to do,
2
ma'am.
more on the early part of the agenda,
Yes, ma'am, it'll be
correct?
on page 4. The first one will be 2224 4505 Barna Avenue, and that will be a Massey hearing.
Might want to make sure everything's okay out
Yeah.
there.
Jim, if you could make sure everyone makes it out of the building, okay?
All right, 22-24.
All right, so I have one item to submit to you. It is the affidavit for the notice of hearing for the Massey hearing today.
Exhibit 1, notice of hearing and affidavit of service. Thank you.
So in review, this is case number 22-24. The respondent is Amber Alburn. The violation address and mailing address are the same. That is 4505 Barna Avenue, Titusville, Florida, 32780. There were 2 code sections, violations identified in the initial hearing. It was code section 12-23. This is machinery parts, scrap lumber, etc., storage, maintaining prohibited. And then section 13-28, this is overgrowth, trash, and other debris. So the case was originally heard on May 9th, 2022. The respondent was ordered to remove the accumulation of trash, junk, and debris from the property and mow the grass and weeds by June 10th, 2022. If compliance was not achieved, a fine in the amount of $100 per day per violation commencing June 10, 2022 was ordered and continued daily until the violations are corrected. The respondent be assessed the administrative costs in the amount of $157.22.
It's got 157.83 in the agenda, which is the right one.
In the conclusion of fact and order, 157.22 is what's listed.
Okay, we'll go with 157.22.
So results of the reinspection, I went out Friday and I also went out this morning. So grass and weeds on the property were mowed as of this morning. As far as the trash and debris, the machinery parts, they have started to remove items, but a large amount of items still remain on the property. So I did have some of the original pictures from the April 27th inspection that I did.
Yes.
Just to review them. So this is along the north property line. This is the front yard. Another view of the front yard. So this was from my June 10th inspection.
So some improvement.
Some improvement. And again, when I went out this morning, there was more work done to organize the area. Though we still have tires, we still have machine parts, we still have construction debris, both in front of the fence you see to the left of the house, as well as along the fence line. A lot of these items still remain on the neighboring property owner's property, the construction site. Again, they need to continue to work.
Have you talked to them?
I had a conversation with Ms. Auburn the afternoon of the last hearing. Since then, I've left several messages. I haven't heard back from her.
Okay.
Again, this was the grass along the side fence line and then the front yard. As of June 10th, the front yard was cut this morning. So conclusion of finding of fact, I would like to remove the overgrowth violation, but request that we keep the code section 12-23 as a current violation, the junk, discarded furniture, scrap metal, discarded building materials, machine parts on the property, and request that they are removed to come into compliance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will incorporate the evidence and testimony into my order. I find that the property is not in compliance with section 12-23, junk and debris. Although some improvement has been made, there still exists a good amount of construction debris, tires, machine parts, etc., that still remain on the property and are visible. They were ordered to come into compliance by June 10. They did not come into compliance. They are in compliance with the overgrowth section 13-28, but not in compliance with section 12-23. So a fine in the amount of $100 per day will be imposed from June 11th, 2022, and shall continue until the violation is completely cured and the owner is ordered to contact Officer Wright when the final violation is in compliance. And costs in the amount of $157.22 will be imposed. Anything else?
Thank you.
And one more.
Yes, ma'am. The last case of the day is 22-25, 760 Lucky Street A. And Officer Flanagan.
I have 3 items to submit, be the notice of hearing, the notice of violation, and the cost recovery sheet for $174.83.
Excuse me. Excuse me. I will admit into evidence as Exhibit 1, the notice of hearing for today's hearing and the affidavit of service of that. The Exhibit 2 shall be the notice of violation. Actually, we do it the other way. Exhibit 1 is going to be the notice of violation and affidavit. Exhibit 2 is going to be the notice of hearing and affidavit. And Exhibit 3 will be the cost recovery sheet seeking costs in the amount of $174.83.
Okay, this will be case number 2225. In the initial hearing, it is 760 Lucky Street. Uzari Shwai is the owner. The mail-to address is 701 Mills Estate Place in Oviedo, Florida. The violation charges originally were 302.1 exterior sanitation, 302.3 sidewalks, walkways, stairways, and driveways, 302.7 accessory structure, 304.10 the stairways, decks, porches, and balconies. The 304.7 roof and drainage has come into compliance since the original violation. 308.1 accumulation of rubbish or garbage. 504.1 general plumbing maintenance. 504.3 the plumbing system hazard, and 6052 the electrical equipment receptacles. The electrical equipment, a permit was applied for, but still has not been picked up. This was an initial inspection done in January 12th, 2022. Date given to comply was January 27th, 2022, and notice to respondent was mailed out on January 13th, certified and signed for by the owner on January 19th, Notice of hearing on April 20th, 2022 was posted at City Hall on the property where the violation exists. Certified mail was sent out on April 7th, 2022 and signed for on April 9th, 2022. This was postponed from last month. Trying to give him an opportunity to be here. He's still not here.
That's right. He had requested to appear by phone or something,
Right,
and that
right.
didn't work out.
Correct. The owners emailed, advised everything was resolved except for the new electrical panel. That's not the case in this, or we wouldn't be here. Originally, I was contacted by the tenant, who is not here, in reference to raw sewage in the front yard. She had other safety concerns also with the property that was not being repaired by the landlord or the owner that she had sent notice to about these violations. I have observed several violations that were listed inside and outside the property and documented the violations and sent notice to the owner. The tenant is no longer on the property, and until last week it was vacant. He has moved new tenants in there. I did gain access from the property from the new tenants. They allowed me on the property to verify these complaints. I received a call from a Greg Henry from G. Henry Electrical advising that he was going to pull a permit to replace the electrical panel on both sides of the duplex. And the permit was ready on May 3rd, but has not been paid for or picked up yet. This was the original complaint back in January. Again, I can't confirm if this has been repaired or not. It still looks like in the same condition. The exterior sanitation is basically raw sewage coming up from underground. You can smell the odor and the wetness being there from the raw sewage that was coming up. And this is on the front of the property. Still looks the same condition today. I cannot confirm because the owner hasn't advised if this has been corrected or not.
When you went out to re-inspect, could you still smell the odor?
The odor, no, the grass is still in the same condition, and the tenants, they were just moving in like that day, and they could not confirm if it's working properly or not. The sidewalks, again, this is a walkway. It's a big section of brick that was removed from the sidewalk, chipped on the side. When I went out there to re-inspect it, that piece had been put back on the sidewalk, but it's still loose, causing a hazard, a trip hazard. It hasn't been corrected, and again, the erosion on the side there, it's about a 2-inch drop from the sidewalk as well. This is from the side and the back of the property. The fence needs to be repaired. Still in the same condition as today. They haven't done anything to repair the fence or remove it. These are the stairways, decks, porches, and balconies. The front and back, those are not properly mounted to support anybody's weight if they're walking up and down the stairs to assist them. They're loose, wobbly and stuff, I guess you can say. Accumulation of rubbish and trash in the same pictures, but there's debris in the front and the back. The tire and stuff are still on the property as long as debris in the backyard. The general plumbing maintenance, I was informed on the left, it shows a picture of a shower head coming out of the faucet from the bottom. Yeah, that was interesting. That has been since repaired, but the plumbing issue with the toilet, apparently it wasn't flushing correctly and went back up onto the tile. Cannot confirm if that's been repaired or not. And this would be the electrical panel. You can see there's receptacle covers missing as well on this one, and this is an old style fuse box. It doesn't maintain a load. She advised that some of the receptacles in the property, every time she plug something in, it would blow one of the fuses. Hence the electrician advising that both sides did need to be replaced when he checked it and to upgrade the system. And there was no GFIs anywhere that I had seen on the property around any of the sinks or anything. Conclusion, the exterior sanitation, the septic tank overflowing under the side of the house. The sidewalk has large cracks in sections missing, causing a hazard. The accessory structure, the fence is falling, missing pieces requiring repair. Stairways, decks, and porches. Handrails are not attached to safely to support any load. Roof and drainage, they did fix the roof by fixing the tile work that was needed to be done. It wasn't in size requirement to require a permit. There was only a couple pieces that were missing. The accumulation of trash and rubbish is still on the property. The plumbing maintenance, the plumbing fixtures, the toilet, etc. I cannot confirm if those have been repaired. The electrical equipment receptacles, the electrical covers, and the GFIs near the sinks in the plumbing area are still missing. And like I said, the electrician advising that they needed to be upgraded. Is ordered to respond to correct the violation by July 8th, 2022. In order to correct the violation, the respondent must repair the septic tank and plumbing, fix cracks and broken sidewalk, remove or repair the fence, repair the handrails to support use, I should have removed the repair roof. That's been taken care of. Remove rubbish and garbage from the property, obtain permits for sidewalks and electrical as needed, and order the respondent to pay the administrative cost of $174.83. If the respondent does not comply by July 8th, there's requested a $50 a day per violation be imposed, and to contact me when it's done. Okay. He did the email. I did get an email from the owner last week requesting more information, and the only response I got to him that he said he would take care of it within 10 days, but I have not. I re-informed him because he did request an extension, and I could not give him an extension on this and gave him the opportunity to be here, and I haven't heard from him since.
Right, and we were supposed to hear this case last
Right.
month.
Yes,
We gave him an extension. Okay. I don't have any questions. All right, I incorporate the evidence and testimony of Officer Flanagan and find that the property is in violation of IPMC section 308.1, trash, garbage, there's tires, debris in the front and backyards. 504.1, the plumbing fixtures properly installed, the toilet appears to be non-functioning. IPMC section 605.2, electrical equipment receptacles, no GFIs, no covers, electrician says it needs to be replaced or upgraded. 504.3, plumbing system hazards. That's the septic.
Yeah, the septic leaking out front and the toilet overflowing.
Okay, the septic leaking and the toilet overflowing. What's the difference between that one and plumbing fixtures shall be properly installed?
That would have been the shower head that was used for the.
Shower head coming out of the faucet. Okay. The 304.10, the stairways, decks, porches, or balconies, handrails do not appear to be mounted or attached. IPMC section 302.3, walkways, there's a large section of broken off sidewalk. It presents a trip hazard. IPMC 302.1, exterior sanitation. That's the raw sewage coming up in the front yard. And finally, 302.7, accessory structures of fences. The fence panels have fallen and there's missing pieces. Compliance date will be July 8th, 2022. Failure to comply by July 8th will result in a fine in the amount of $50 per day per violation, and I will impose costs in the amount of $139.61. Right. Anything else? All right,
No, ma'am.
kept me on my toes today. $174.83. Costs, $174.83. Can't read my writing. All right, is that it?
That's it.
Then we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. See, we tried to bring an interest one
Yeah,
this
yeah,
month.
that's lively.